Hello, everyone, and welcome to Step It Up with Dr. A, where we share stories, lessons, and insights to help students, professionals, and lifelong learners navigate their personal and professional journeys. Before we begin, I'd like to share a quick note. The purpose of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and encourage thoughtful decision making. The experiences, opinions, and perspectives shared by me and any guest are based on our personal and professional experiences and are intended for educational and informational purposes only. They are not intended to serve as individualized medical, financial, or professional advice, career counseling, legal advice, or academic guidance. Every person's journey is unique. My hope is that these conversations help you ask better questions, explore possibilities, and make informed decisions that are right for you. Please seek guidance from qualified professionals and mentors when making important decisions. Hi, I'm Dr. Nivedita Agarwal. Over the last several episodes, we have talked about why medicine, what life as a physician really looks like, how to prepare academically, the value of clinical experiences, and the importance of empathy and service. Today, I want to tackle a question that almost every aspiring physician asks at some point. How do I stand out? Students often worry about things like how much research should I do? How many publications do I need? How many volunteer hours are enough? What extracurricular activities will help me get into medical school? And perhaps the question behind all of those questions is, how do I compete with everyone else? The answer may surprise you. The strongest applicants aren't necessarily the ones with the longest resumes. They're often the ones who know who they are, what drives them, and how their experiences have shaped them. Medical schools aren't just looking for students who can memorize information. They're looking for future physicians, people who are curious, people who are resilient, people who are willing to grow, people who ask thoughtful questions and genuinely care about making a difference. Today, we're going to talk about research and what admissions committees are really trying to understand when they review your application. One of the biggest misconceptions I see among students is the belief that there is a perfect formula for getting into a medical school. Having a great GPA, high MCAT score, research, publications, volunteer hours, shadowing physicians, joining a few organizations, checking all the right boxes, and you'll be accepted. The reality is much more nuanced. Every year, admissions committee review thousands of applications. Many applicants have outstanding grades. Many have impressive accomplishments. Many have excellent test scores. What often separates applicants isn't perfection, it's authenticity. Admissions committees aren't simply asking, what has the student done? They're asking, who is the student becoming? What motivates them? How do they think? How do they handle challenges? What have they learned from their experiences? And what kind of physician might they become someday? When students hear the word research, they often think about publications, presentations, or another accomplishment to add to an application. But in my experience, research teaches something far more important. Research teaches curiosity. Every meaningful discovery begins with a question. Why does this happen? What don't we understand? How can we improve outcomes? What problem are we trying to solve? Medicine is built on the same questions. Whether you're involved in basic science research, clinical research, public health initiatives, educational projects, quality improvement work, the greatest value often isn't the final result. The greatest value is learning how to think, learning how to ask better questions, learning how to evaluate evidence, learning how to navigate uncertainty, and learning how to remain curious when answers don't come easily. One of the most meaningful research experiences of my undergraduate years took place in an X-ray crystallography laboratory focused on cell biology and biochemistry. Our team was studying a ubiquitin activating enzyme involved in protein degradation and essential cellular function. The goal was to determine its three-dimensional structure and better understand how it functioned. At the time, I was fascinated by the idea that understanding the structure of a biological molecule could help us better understand life itself. For months, I immersed myself in the research process. I learned techniques such as gel electrophoresis, X-ray crystallography, and mass spectrometry. I learned how experiments are designed, how hypotheses are tested, how data are interpreted, and how scientific progress often occurs one small step at a time. For nearly 7 months, our team worked diligently towards our goal. Yet despite our efforts, we were unable to determine the structure of the protein because of its enormous size and complexity at the time. Eventually, the project was paused. At first glance, it might seem like the project was unsuccessful. After all, we didn't answer the original research question. But looking back, I see that experience very differently. The project taught me analytical thinking, problem solving, patience, perseverance, and resilience. It taught me that research isn't always about finding answers. Sometimes it's about learning how to ask better questions. Sometimes progress comes from discovering what doesn't work. And sometimes the most valuable lessons come from experiences that don't unfold the way we planned. Although we didn't achieve our original objective, I gained something much more valuable. I learned how to remain curious in the face of uncertainty. And that lesson has stayed with me throughout medicine. Because medicine itself is often an exercise in curiosity, humility, and lifelong learning. One thing I have learned throughout my educational journey is that the students who grow the most are often the ones who remain curious. Not because they know all the answers, but because they're willing to ask questions. As a student, I found myself drawn to opportunities that helped me better understand people, medicine, and the world around me. That curiosity led me down paths I hadn't initially planned. It influenced my decision to pursue a challenging major in biochemistry while also exploring anthropology. It led me into research laboratories. It led me into volunteer experiences. It led me into leadership opportunities. And each experience taught me something different about myself. Looking back, many of those experiences weren't valuable because they looked impressive on an application. They were valuable because they helped me grow. And growth is often what medical schools are truly trying to identify. Many students ask me, how do I stand out from everyone else applying to medical school? I would challenge you to think differently. Instead of asking, what will make me look impressive? Ask, what genuinely interests me? What problems do I care about solving? What experiences am I not naturally drawn towards? The most memorable applicants are rarely the ones who simply collected activities. They're often the ones who pursue something meaningful with genuine curiosity and commitment. Maybe that's research. Maybe it's community service. Maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's leadership. Maybe it's advocacy. Maybe it's entrepreneurship. Maybe it's healthcare innovation. The specific activity matters less than the authenticity behind it. Admissions committees can often tell the difference between experiences pursued for a resume and experiences pursued because they genuinely matter to the applicant. Passion leaves clues, and authenticity is difficult to fake. One of the biggest mistakes I see students make is trying to do everything. Every club, every volunteer opportunity, every research project, every leadership position. Instead, focusing on meaningful involvement is more important. Ask yourself, what did I actually learn? How did I contribute? How did this experience challenge me? How did it change me? A few meaningful experiences that shape your perspective will often tell a much stronger story than dozens of superficial ones. Medical schools aren't simply counting activities, they are looking for evidence of growth. Let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough: failure. Research projects fail, experiments don't work, applications get rejected, plans change. And sometimes the path forward looks very different from what you originally imagined. The truth is that medicine is filled with uncertainty. Research teaches resilience because it forces you to confront uncertainty head on. It teaches you how to adapt, how to think critically, how to keep moving forward when the answer isn't obvious. Those are the same skills you'll need throughout your career as a physician. Some of the most important lessons I have learned didn't come from things that worked perfectly. They came from experiences that challenged me, experiences that forced me to rethink, adapt, and grow. Growth often happens outside of your comfort zone. What medical schools really want to see? Of course, strong academics matter. Solid GPA matters. The MCAT score matters. But those things are only part of the picture. Medical schools are also looking for curiosity, service, leadership, resilience, communication skills, maturity, professionalism, self-awareness, empathy, teamwork, and evidence that you understand what a career in medicine truly involves. Because medicine is not simply about mastering science. It's about caring for people. It's about lifelong learning. It's about showing up during difficult moments. It's about earning trust. And those qualities can't be measured by a transcript alone. As you think about your future, ask yourself, what genuinely interests me? What problems do I enjoy solving? What experiences energize me? How do I respond when things don't go according to plan? What have my setbacks taught me? What story am I telling through the choices I'm making? And perhaps most importantly, am I pursuing these experiences because they matter to me or because I think they will impress someone else? Before our next episode, a reflection exercise I would like you to spend some time on is the experiences that you have had which have made the greatest impact on your life so far. For each experience, write down what happened. Why was it meaningful? What did I learn? How did it change me? What strengths did it help me develop? Then ask yourself one final question. What do these experiences reveal about who I am becoming? Because ultimately, medical schools are not just evaluating what you have done. They are evaluating who you're becoming. And the better you understand your own story, the better you'll be able to share it with others. If there's one message I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. You do not need to be the most accomplished person in the room. You do not need the longest resume. You do not need to check every possible box. What you do need is curiosity, a willingness to learn, the courage to explore your interest, and the resilience to grow through challenges. The strongest medical school applicants aren't necessarily the ones who have done the most. They're often the ones who have learned the most, the ones who can explain not only what they have done, but why it mattered. Thank you for joining me on Step It Up with Dr. A. In our next episode, we'll discuss finding mentors, building relationships, and asking for help, because no one reaches medicine alone. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep stepping it up. I am Dr. A, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Step It Up with Dr. A. Remember, this podcast is designed to provide educational information and inspiration, not individualized professional advice. Always consult qualified professionals regarding your specific circumstances.